Good morning. My name is Claryce Gibbons-Allen, and I'm a member of the Campbell Chapel AME Church in Bluffton. I'm also a member of the Steward Board and president of the Christian Social Action Commission. Thank you this morning for joining me. To Presiding Elder Anderson and Established Protocol, good morning. I'd like to take a few minutes to share with you some of the activities of social action commissions throughout the district over the last few months. We've been greatly involved in Get Out the Vote Election 2020. As you know, this was an election of historic proportion. We have elected our first African American female vice president, and of course, South Carolina took President Joe Biden to the White House. In the fall of 2020, in addition to numerous voter registration activities, there were 3 or 4 activities that I would like to share with you that were done by different churches throughout the district. In October, there were rallies for the youth, the young adult voter, to try and encourage and motivate them to get out to vote. St. Stephen's AME Church, for example, also had a drive-in movie for young adults and families on Just Mercy. Election Day hospitality services were made available through numerous churches, and that was provided to voters as they waited in line. And then in January, churches across the nation were asked to join in with the new Biden-Harris administration for the first memorial bell ringing service to honor those who have been lost to COVID-19 and to give solace to those who are still suffering. So we've taken souls to the polls and we've elected our officials. Now the hard work begins, making sure that we can continue to do our part to let those elected officials know what we want them to address. Some of the current pieces of legislation that are under development both in Congress and in our State House, I'd like to take a moment to make sure that you're aware of. In Congress, the House of Representatives has now passed H.R. 1 and sent it to the Senate, also known as S1, called the For the People Act, which is an omnibus bill that includes voting rights expansion, campaign finance reform, ethical standards, and ending partisan gerrymandering. There is also H.R. 4, the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act, also known in the Senate as the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. This legislation is designed to restore and strengthen the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which will curb acts of racial discrimination and voter suppression, which we now are so aware of. The filibuster, which is a U.S. Senate rule, has had a lot of discussion this year. That rule change can allow majority rule opposed to what currently happens as a filibuster is defined. In other words, filibusters allow a minority of its members in the Senate, to block action on legislation of importance to you. Now, closer to home, our South Carolina legislature have several bills. Of particular importance for you to watch is H 3444. This general bill on the composition, powers, and duties of the State Election Commission is a bill that would affect how our elections are run. The state legislators have included language that would broaden the legislative influence and power over this commission and lessen that at your local level. South Carolina is one of 3 remaining states not having a hate crimes bill enacted. For at least the last 2 years, efforts have been underway to make that happen. We're back at it again this year under H 3620, the penalty enhancements for certain crimes, also known as hate crimes bill. Please look at the resource information available in this presentation and make efforts to organize within your community, if you haven't done so already, to get your local elected officials, your town councils, to establish support for this particular bill. These are some resources that we're providing to you. So first of all, from the Stamp Out Hate and the Hate Crimes Bill, go to this link and they will be able to share information with you about what's the status of the legislation is and positions. Campbell Chapel is a member and one of the founding members, in fact. We also participate in a local anti-hate organization in Hilton Head, Bluffton, called Low Country Coalition Against Hate. The next, contact your state legislators. That's what it's all about. You elected them to do your work, the work of the people. Not some of the people, but all of the people. And where you can find their contact information is at the link provided, scstatehouse.gov. Another resource that I like to call upon is a phone app, a smartphone app called 5 Calls. The number 5 and then the word calls. It provides summaries on any number of issues that are of national importance. It explains it. It tells you where it is in real time in terms of its development and its passage. And then it provides you with direct dial number to the Washington, D.C. office of your specific congressional representative and senators. It also provides you with a short script specific to the issue of your call, or it provides you with suggestions for the content that you might leave in a voicemail should no one be available to take your call. Now, on the issue of a filibuster, I know we've heard that word kicked around quite a bit. And maybe you don't know much about the history of it, nor where we might stand on it currently. If you go to the link that's provided, the recount can provide you with a wonderful short video to explain both where we are, why it's important for it to be rescinded, and what's the history behind it, which is very interesting. The Brennan Center for Justice is a nonprofit organization that I've become familiar with that provides frequent information on issues of justice. Now, this last resource is one of which one of our partners is sponsoring, the League of Women Voters. They have an annual Good Governance Symposium series which this year will be virtual and it's free. And the series will address the issues of voting rights, redistricting, dark money, electoral college reform, and election systems. In closing, I want to thank those Social Action Commission members for your hard work this year. We got out the vote. We made the difference. Not just here in South Carolina, but of course also in Georgia. Let's work together to get more voters, more voters, more voters. Thank you.